Hey everyone, it's Eric with FirearmTutorials.com, and today we're going to look at removing a broken cartridge from in the MP5 barrel here. First real stoppage I've had with this gun in probably about 2,500 rounds since I've owned it. And basically what happened is I had a stoppage, I looked, the gun was out of battery. When I say out of battery, this is basically what it looked like. It was stuck back like that. I could see the extractor spring there. So the next problem I had is that I couldn't actually manually eject the case. The cocking handle here was stuck. So what I ended up doing is banging it down on the bench like this to basically clear the weapon. Now when I did that, I couldn't see, like I said, I was outdoors. It was really, really bright out there. I couldn't see what exactly came out of the breach there. Be it the cartridge, a portion of the cartridge, I couldn't tell. So I took it apart, took all the stuff out, took the bolt out, and just kind of did a once over so I could inspect the rollers were fine. I actually took the bolt apart, looked at the locking piece. Nothing seemed to be damaged. So at that point I figured I just had, an out of spec round. Those were my hand loads that I was shooting anyways. Put the gun back together, got another magazine, put it in there, couldn't chamber the round. Basically had the same issue where, about this much of the ejection, the extractor spring was showing. So then I thought, well, is it something with the magazine? So I used a different magazine. About 3 or 4 times I still couldn't get a round to seat in the chamber. At that point I couldn't really troubleshoot it any further since I was outside. I didn't have any tools or anything, so I just packed it in. Got home, did the exact same thing, kind of just looked over again at the components here just to make sure nothing was damaged or nothing I overlooked. Same thing, just for kicks and giggles, and I had done this the first time while I was out there just to make sure it wasn't a squib, and sure enough I did like a double take. I'm like, well, wait a minute. And ended up being a case stuck in there. So you can't see it on camera here, but if you look at these photos, this is pretty much the best picture I could get of it. But you can definitely see a portion of the case in there. So basically when I banged the gun against the table, all it did was rip the back of the case off that was stuck in there. So we still have the majority of the 9mm cartridge inside there. So what we're going to do today is get it out. Now I've got a couple different methods that we can use here. We're obviously going to try for the path of least resistance. But what we're going to try first is setting up the oversized brush here. This is a 45 ACP brush. We're going to try and go in there. Maybe the friction of the brush will grab the case and pull it out. If not, we're going to have to try something else. I will say I definitely made the problem worse by continually putting magazines in there and trying to rechamber rounds because all it was doing was shoving that case further in there. Nonetheless, it shouldn't be too difficult. The problem with this particular platform, being a 50-year-old gun, the barrel is actually welded in here, so I can't separate the barrel from the receiver, which makes this a little more difficult. If this was an AR-15 or something, depending on what kind of gun it is, a lot of times, even though it's a little bit more work, with wrenches and things like that, you can actually separate the barrel from the receiver. We don't really have that luxury here, so it's going to be a little more difficult to work on, but nonetheless, we'll make it happen. Okay, so now when we stick this brush in here, we're going to ruin the brush, but big deal. These are a couple dollars a piece, if that. What we're going to want to do is just jam it in there, basically as much as we need to, and try and pull it out. I don't like putting this particular receiver, there we go. Okay, I was going to say I don't like putting this particular receiver in a vise because it's so sensitive to the action of the gun, but okay, so if we look at the culprit here, you can see that it's a fraction of the size of the entire case. I was under the impression that it had ripped the very rim and rear portion off, but it looks like it got about half the case. And if we look at it, there's no signs of overpressure or anything like that. There's some flute marks on there, which are normal for this particular gun. You can see it's a little flared out there, and that's basically from me just trying to reseat additional rounds behind it. But other than that, you can see the bullet left the case. There's no splitting in the end of the case or anything like that. So as far as shooting reloads, You know, that's one of those things, guys. If you reload enough, I mean, gosh, I've probably put 25,000 plus 9mm rounds through my guns, you know, over the years through reloading. So it's going to happen eventually. And you saw it wasn't too big of a deal. It did put my MP5 out of commission for the day, but as you can see now, we're back in business. So if you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.